Good morning, everybody. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving today. The food that we're going to eat today, the traditional Thanksgiving menu, has its origins in the colonial period, but it also says something about our Americans' view of food and the cooking of food. So I have a few thoughts about that today. So from Dorothy and me, have a great day today. Have a happy Thanksgiving. When Norman Rockwell painted the four freedoms during World War II, one of those, the freedom from want, he used the American Thanksgiving as his idea. The big turkey, people seated around the table, having a great time together. And when we think about the first Thanksgiving between the Pilgrims and the Indians, we imagine them eating things that they grew nearby. So in 1651, this cookbook came out in France during the rule of Louis XIV, and it had an emphasis on local food, well prepared. Over time, though, we have associated French cooking with elaborate cooking, high cuisine, lots of sauces, lots of butter, taking all day to make. In 1796, the first cookbook by an American came out in our country, American Cookery by Amelia Simmons, focused on local foods and included cranberries with turkey. But one of the themes of a lot of these early cookbooks was to use things you could grow locally and prepare them well. In this book by Mrs. Lydia Child, no relation to Julia, she also focuses on local food, and the realization is that American women did not have staffs in the kitchen, so the American mom had to do the cooking herself. In 1857, Sarah Hale came out with her cookbook. Focus was on being healthy, being simple, being frugal, being economical. She was the one who wrote the letter to President Lincoln. There's a picture of Mrs. Hale on the left, encouraging him to have a national day of Thanksgiving. Many of the states had their own Thanksgivings in the fall, but she recommended that we have a national one, which started during the time of Lincoln. Now, the turkey was known to both Old World and New World people. What I'd like to talk about for a few minutes is the idea that there's a simple way and kind of a fancy way to make some foods. For instance, demi-glaze, which is a real thick gravy, takes all day to make. Or you can make pan gravy, which doesn't take much time at all. It's pretty simple. You might have a yummy croissant when you're in France with all those layers and all that butter. Or you might have a yummy dinner roll that takes a fraction of the time to make. Maybe your stuffing was literally stuffed inside the bird and took a long, long time to cook. Or maybe your stuffing was done on the stovetop, which doesn't take nearly as much time. If you were wealthy and lived in the old world, you might serve raspberries, but those are really fussy to grow. But in the new world, you had cranberries, which were quite common, pretty hardy, easy to make. Maybe your green beans are filled with all kinds of ingredients and special things, or maybe it's the green bean casserole with the mushroom soup and the onion rings. Aspic is made from the gelatinous leftovers of cooking down pig's feet. And you would stuff the aspic with food. Here's a pig's foot, and if you had aspic in the old world, it was a sign you had staff who spent all day cooking down pig's feet to get the gelatin. But we don't do that today, do we? If we want that, we make Jell-O. And if you're my age, you might remember the Jell-O salads when we were kids, and you never were quite sure what was going to be in them. Maybe your pumpkin pie is made from cooking pumpkins from scratch, but I expect it's probably made from pumpkin from the can. So if you have free-range turkey, imagine telling that to a colonial person, and he would say, well, what other kind of turkey is there? So one of the themes of food these days is our emphasis on trying to get things local, like at your farmer's market. But that's an old idea, isn't it? That's something certainly the colonial people understood, is eat what you can that is close by. So when you have your Thanksgiving dinner today, whatever it looks like, think about the people who made do with what they could grow locally, and we're pretty good at cooking that food. So whatever you do today, everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving, whatever your meal, whomever you're with. We hope you have a great day today.